Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
सर्वधर्मान परित्यज्य
सर्वधर्मा परित्यज्य
माम एकम शरणं व्रज
माम् एकं शरणं व्रज
अहं त्वां सर्व पापेभ्यो
अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो
मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः.
मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः।
Yes. Someone like to read?
Read, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Translation. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Purport. The Lord has described various kind of knowledge and process of religion, knowledge of Supreme Brahman, knowledge of Super Soul, knowledge of different type of orders and status of social life, knowledge of renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different type of religion. Now in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all process that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kind of sinful reaction. For the Lord personally promises to protect him. In the 7th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from all sinful reaction can take to worship of Lord Krishna. Thus, one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reaction, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubt, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically freed. There is no need to strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reaction. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as the supreme savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender unto him. The process of surrender to Krishna is described in the Hari Bhakti Vilasa 11.616. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam rakshiyatiti vishvaso goptatve varnam tatha atma nikshepa karpanya sad vida sarnagati. According to devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principle that will lead ultimately to devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in social order, but if by executing his duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory process by cultivation of knowledge, meditation in mystic yoga system, etc. But one who surrender unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. That simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessarily wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be freed from all sinful reactions. One should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. His name is Krishna because he is all attractive. One who become attracted by the beautiful, all-powerful, omnipotent vision of Krishna is fortunate. There are different kind of transcendentalists. Some of them are attached to the impersonal Brahman vision. Some of them are attracted by super soul feature, etc. But one who is attracted to the personal feature of Supreme Personality of Godhead And above all, one who is attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna himself is the most perfect transcendentalist. In other words, devotional services to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is the essence of whole Bhagavad Gita. Karma yogis, empiric philosophers, mystic, and devotees are all called transcendentalists. But one who is pure devotee is the best of all. The particular words used here is ma sucha. Don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry, are very significant. One may be perplexed as to how one can give up all kind of religious forms and simply surrender onto Krishna, but such worry is useless. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. This is the most significant verse of Bhagavad Gita. We have seen so many. For example, chapter 13, verse number 8 to 12. That verse is the essence of all knowledge. Or if we go to 10th chapter, 10th verse, that knowledge is also very important. Tesham satata yuktanam. So then also, Krishna has also said, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. So that Krishna only is the source of everything. So in this way, there are many verses which are important. But this verse, 1866, concludes all the arguments of Bhagavad Gita. So previously in this chapter, Krishna has already mentioned what Krishna consciousness is. Here Krishna is saying, surrender unto me. So the question is, how does one surrender? What is that? What is that surrender? What do we mean by surrender? So that has been explained already here. That meaning that Krishna has already been setting the prologue to that verse is already given here. So we look at verse number 57. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasya matpara buddhi yogam upashritya matchitta sattam bhava. In all activities, just depend on me and always work under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So depend only on Krishna. See, third chapter, what has Krishna said? Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. So he says, ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Ahankara vimudatma, one who thinks he's the doer is ahankari. He's a vain person. Ahankara vimudatma, he's vain and foolish. He thinks that this body, this intelligence is his and that is acting. No, it is Prakriti which is acting under the instruction of Krishna only. So it is acting indirectly, and the living entity is the indirect doer. He is a desirer. So therefore, now he is continuing with the argument further. He says, in all activities, just depend on me. So what does that mean? That means you work only as Krishna is advising you. Now, for example, in the military, the command gives you the orders, what has to be done. Because the high command knows what is happening on the battlefield. So, the colonels who are guiding the specific tactics, they know what is happening where. The lower officers, the lieutenants, the majors, they should just obey whatever is being told to them. If they try to do more or less, they could actually be exposing themselves and others to danger. So Krishna knows everything. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. He's in everyone's heart. He knows everything. He's Trikaladarshi. He knows past, present, and future also. So he knows exactly what is good, what is bad. So therefore, he has given many instructions in the form of Vedas. Jivera Kripaya Kaila Krishna Veda Purana. He has given the Puranas, the Vedas, he has given all the instructions. And then Chaturvarnam Maya system, Guna Karma Vibhagsha, he has created the Varnashram system also. So he has given the knowledge, he has provided the social structure in which to implement this knowledge. And then he is guiding within the heart as Paramatma also. So in so many ways, Krishna is trying to guide the living entity. So therefore, all we have to do is just obey his instructions. Krishna is not going to be a slave driver. Krishna is a very just master. If we serve him, we'll be happy. He knows exactly what is good for us, even though we may not understand it that way. So we have to follow the instructions of Krishna in the Vedas through the spiritual master. So this is how the spiritual life works. So this is the beginning of surrender. Then he says, then Krishna explains further, Mat chitta sarva durgani, mat prasada tarishyasi, athachetvam ahankaran, Na shoshasi vinangshasi. If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditional life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. So this is something which is very significant. Now Krishna is issuing a warning also. If you follow my instructions, you will follow very smoothly. You see the case of Pandavas. They were in so much distress. They were attacked, they lost their father, then they were attacked with weapons, they were attacked with poison, with fire. And in so many ways, they were humiliated. But they stuck to Krishna. They followed the instructions of Krishna. And as a result of that, they could overcome all the obstacles and gain the kingdom, which was rightfully theirs. On the other hand, Duryodhan did not obey Krishna. And in the end, he had to meet an very ignominious end. So, for one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend. He always looks after his friend's comfort and he gives himself to his friend. This is what Srila Prabhupada is explaining. So, no one should think that I am the body, I am the doer. No, just surrender to Krishna. Krishna, he has said already that he is going to protect whatever we have. He's going to carry what we lack. But as soon as one surrenders to Krishna, he is immediately freed from all material possessions. He has no obligations. Otherwise, if we think we are the doers, then we have so much of responsibility. Then we are bound up by so many rules and regulations. And in reality, this living entity in material creation has no knowledge of what has to be done. So, Maya Mugdha Jivera Nahi Swata Krishna Gyan. Jivera Kripaya Kaila Krishna Veda Puran. So, in Maya, no one knows what is right, what is wrong. We have no idea. Therefore, it is important that we should follow what is written in the scriptures, what is given by the acharyas. Then and only then we'll be successful. Otherwise, we'll drown even in this process of bhakti. We can fall down even in the process of bhakti. I have seen so many times, devotees, they become very, compassionate without even knowing what compassion is and how it has to be applied. And then so many mischief happen. Just there was a case some months ago, one very senior Prabhuji ran away with somebody else's wife. Too much compassion. Compassion remained and eventually calm went away, it became passion. So you see, this is a danger. We have to follow the process as it is given. We should not whimsically try to change anything. This is the meaning of surrender to Krishna, knowing that Krishna is our friend, is our well-wisher, very much that, when we surrender to Krishna, Krishna also surrenders to us. It's mutual. It's not that Krishna sits there like Lord and Master. No, Krishna also surrenders. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. So, Krishna also surrenders. So, knowing this, one should only follow the instructions of Krishna because we have no other option. If we don't surrender to Krishna, we'll fall away. We'll become entangled in the material nature and there will be no way out of us. There will be no way out of it for us. Yes, so so Krishna will protect in all systems. This meditation and all, they are meant for different ways of purifying consciousness, but simply surrendering to Krishna is the complete means of purification. So one should meditate on Krishna as Gopal. One should worship on Krishna as he appeared on the battlefield, and then one should surrender to him. Hare Krishna, Ma Shucha. Don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry. This is what Krishna is saying. Just let go. When you have a surgeon, the surgeon gives you anesthesia, then you don't protest. Why are you cutting me? Why are you injecting me? No. They just take we just surrender. So we must learn to surrender to Krishna if we want a peaceful life. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Do we continue?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, here Lord is saying that all varieties of religion abandon. So all varieties of religion, can you please explain?
All varieties of religion. Yoga, karma, karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyan yoga, Islam, Christianity, Hindutva. Give up everything. Surrender unto Krishna. this thing we shared in the morning also, we had just discussed. Srila Prabhupada makes a very interesting comment. So I'll just read it out. He wrote in one of his letters. So Srila Prabhupada says, we are not preaching Hinduism. We are attempting to create a society of devotees all over the world, regardless of creed or color. One Gyani came to me yesterday and said, the Muslims used to convert the Hindus, and now the Hindus are converting to Christians. So what is the difference? But we are not making Hindus. My Guru Maharaj never said that Hinduism is better than Christianity. We are simply trying to convince people that their original position is with Krishna. The word Hindu is given by Muslims. It is not found anywhere in the Vedas. Actually, our system is that of Varnashram Dharma and is applicable anywhere. The sun is the creation of God and it is visible everywhere. Similarly, Krishna is not the monopoly of India. Our system is not to change Christians to Hindus, but to revitalize our lost constitutional position as servants of Krishna. These boys and girls are not working for any nation. They are working for Krishna. They have understood that Krishna is the personality of Godhead. They are not working for some Hindu god. They are working for the Supreme Lord himself. Back to Godhead magazine with Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan. So you see, this is our position. All religions, no worship of Kul Devta, no worship of sun god, no worship, no yoga practice, no Patanjali Yoga Sutra, nothing. Only Krishna. Eko Devam, Devaki Putra Dev, Devaki Putram. Eko Shastram, Devaki Putra Shastram. So that's it. One God and one scripture, Krishna and Bhagavad Gita. Anything is other than that is Paradharma. So we don't have to do that. Yes. Does that answer your question, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, so text 67. Idam te natapaskaya
Natapaskaya
na bhaktaya kadachana
bhaktaya kadachana
na chashu shushrave vachyam
ashrushave vacham
na cha mam yo bhayus bhyasuyati.
nacha mam yo abhyasuyati.
Let it go.
Yes, please.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Swami Prabhupada. Translation. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Purport. Persons who have not undergone the austerities of religious process, who have never attempted religious devotional service in Krishna consciousness, who have not tended a pure devotee, and especially those who are not conscious of Krishna only as a historical personality, or who are envious of the greatness of Krishna, should not be told this most confidential part of knowledge. It is, however, sometimes found that even demonic persons who are envious of Krishna, worshipping Krishna in a different way, take to the profession of explaining Bhagavad Gita in a different way to make business. But anyone who desires actually to understand Krishna must avoid such commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Actually, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is not understandable to those who are sensuous, even if one is not sensuous, but is strictly following the disciplines enjoined in the Vedic scripture. If he is not a devotee, he cannot understand Krishna. And even one poses himself as a devotee of Krishna, but is not engaged in Krishna conscious activities, he also cannot understand Krishna. There are many persons who envy Krishna because he has explained in Bhagavad Gita that he is the supreme and that nothing is above him or equal to him. There are many persons who are envious of Krishna. Such persons should not be told of Bhagavad Gita, for they cannot understand. There is no possibility of faithless persons understanding Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. Without understanding Krishna from the authority of pure devotee, one should not try to comment upon Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So This confidential knowledge may not be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service. So, we should realize how much of it is applicable to us, and then we should act accordingly. So, you see, so many times devotees say, Prabhu, I've been practicing, but consciousness does not change. So, we should see why it is not changing. You get a machine and you open the manual, you see what has done, and then you press some buttons, it doesn't work. Then you check why it is not working. Some cord is not connected properly, or some button panels are not functioning, or what. We have to check everything. So when we see that we are not progressing in spiritual life, we should also run a checklist and see whether we are following all the rules and regulations or not. So we should try to see whether we are following all the rules and regulations as prescribed by the acharyas. We should see whether we are concocting some philosophy or concocting some process, imagining something and then acting whimsically. So bhakti is a scientific process. Science means set rules. Science is not a whimsical thing, not that today we have third law of Newton and tomorrow we'll have a fourth law also, or that we delete the second law. Science doesn't work that way. Science means set rules and regulations, set paths. So if they are followed, then things should work accordingly. So bhakti also, we have to follow the rules and regulations given by the acharyas. For instance, Madhva Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya, or Nimbarka Sampradaya, every Sampradaya has its own rules and regulations. And anyone who follows them in spirit will get the desired results. But if one jumps from one to another, I went to South India, I saw Madhvas doing this, now I'll start. That is not going to work. That is not going to work. Because that rule is given for that particular devotee by his particular spiritual master in that particular sampradaya. It may look nice, but it will have no value for us. It will not work. Think of it this way, that if we try to imagine something, how is it going to work? You are driving a Maruti and you go to the petrol pump to fill up the car, and there you see a gigantic Volvo bus coming, filling up with diesel and going away. And then you think, why is he filling up with diesel? Let me also try it. Is it going to work? Your car will get busted if it's a petrol car. So you see, you have to follow the rules and regulations which are specifically meant for you. That will help you. I may be an engineer and I'm studying engineering, and I happen to see a friend who's a doctor. So I think, okay, maybe I should go and start studying biology. So I will never become a doctor, but on the contrary, I will flunk my engineering exams also. So you see, Krishna has already explained previously that one should do one's own duty, however imperfectly. Every endeavor is covered with fault. One should do his own duties, however imperfectly, rather than doing someone else's perfectly. So one should always, in this way, one should have faith in the words of the acharyas. So one should be austere, meaning that one must take some austerity for Krishna. At least, if nothing, then at least hear Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. There are so many good speakers. At least hear Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Try to do some endeavor for Krishna, which requires a little bit of effort. One should be devoted, meaning that one should have faith that Krishna is the objective of my life. Krishna is not a hobby. He is not a fashion statement. Krishna is very attractive. Radha and Krishna are attractive, so I'll worship them. Yes, they are attractive, but that's not the reason for worshipping them. We worship them because we are their part and parcel. So one should be devoted. One should be engaged in devotional service. So something must be done. It's not sufficient to say, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I go for Sunday feast and all the festivals. No, that is not good. What are you doing for Krishna? That Krishna is doing for you. He has arranged a temple, he has arranged a program. What are you doing for him? I give monthly donations. Well, that is fine, but what do you do for Krishna? So that you should always question yourself. What am I doing for Krishna? How can I please Krishna today? And it should be in spirit. One should not think, okay, this is enough. I have done enough for Krishna today. Now let me relax. No amount of devotional service is too much. And certainly we should not be envious of Krishna. So while preaching, we do come across such people. So how do we avoid it? So we should just depend on the mercy of Guru and Krishna and preach. Because in the course of preaching, So many people will be like this. We'll see so many such people in our devotional circles. So we have to take that kind of risk. And that itself is pleasing to Krishna. However, one warning here is that we should not persist when we see that the other person does not fit this criteria. When the person is not fitting these criteria, then we should not push into preaching, because then we are committing an offense against the instruction of the Lord. So preaching to those only who are interested, no unnecessary preaching. So many times we have large congregation and some Mataji doesn't even know what is Hare Krishna, or Prabhuji is still drinking tea and eating meat, and we are still preaching. No, that should not be done. Prabhupada was very strict. He said, like 6 months, you give a try. If a person does not become Brahminical in 6 months, then he is useless. So at least we're not applying such harsh rules, but we should understand that in 6 months of practicing Krishna consciousness, if we don't become Brahminical, then we are useless. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Krishna Prabhuji.
Krishna?
Prabhuji, this just came in my mind. Is there any literature or someone has mentioned something like what Krishna was thinking when all these things are going on, like when he was in Gokul, Vrindavan, and Mathura? Means what's going in his mind?
Well, it's written in Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam 10th canto has all of that.
Okay.
Krishna book. You will find it in Krishna book.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, here it is this confidential knowledge, most confidential part of it, of knowledge. Now, this thing that confidential knowledge has appeared in various chapters and slokas. So can you summarize what are the confidential things which have been advised in Bhagavad Gita that a devotee should know?
I didn't get your point, Prabhu.
So the confidential knowledge, here it is mentioned, it should not be given to a person who is envious of Krishna and all that. This is a confidential knowledge. Similarly, elsewhere also, in other chapter, it will show this is the confidential knowledge, very confidential knowledge, which should not be given to others or should be followed. Can we list all this? This is.
See, it is generally applicable. All of Bhagavad Gita. So if someone is not interested, not devoted, then we should not give these instructions, because we are wasting our time and we are also creating more enmity. This Chanakya Pandit says that if you feed a serpent a banana, he becomes more poisonous. So if we are preaching Bhagavad Gita to atheistic people or demonic people, they'll become more inimical. That will not be good for them also. So therefore, we should avoid preaching.
I think elsewhere also it was Arjun that I am giving you the confidential knowledge. And I think 10th chapter or
10th chapter 1, first verse.
Yeah, first verse. So I have read it 3-4 places. Confidential, very confidential, and all those. I thought whether they can have a small summary of those confidential instructions given by Krishna. That was my object of that.
Yeah, so no. So I mean, Bhagavad Gita generally is like that. Like here, Prabhupada is referencing the whole of Bhagavad Gita, not just that verse, not just 66, all verses. He says it should not be explained to those who are not austere.
Here is okay, I agree. The part I understood. If those who do not believe in Krishna or envy Krishna, we should not waste time. So I have also seen many cases like this. So we try to make it, they are finding that they don't understand. They know it, but they don't want to understand. That's why waste time. Then I fully agree with that. Wasting time. But what my point was, I'll come back again sometime. It's 34 places in the sense, very confidential knowledge, very, very confidential knowledge. I just thought if there's a list like that, so that would be useful to like this.
Yeah, so wherever Krishna is explaining some of his own qualities, that knowledge is considered confidential.
Okay.
Wherever he's explaining. So here also it is confidential because he's explaining that if you simply surrender to me, all your dharma is finished.
Mhm.
So he doesn't want people to take unnecessary advantage of it, some cheating religion, like Sahajiyas in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
So, no rules and regulations, but we have surrendered to Krishna, and then they're just living by begging.
I remember that IPS officer who was DIG.
Hmm.
I wanted to act as a gopis. Very scandalous from UP Pada. And finally was terminated.
That is nonsense. Sahajiyism. Whatever
Right,
Krishna
to-
decides, we'll do that, not some whimsical thing because gopis look nice, so I'll become a gopi. No, that is nonsense. That's an offense.
It was whimsical.
Mm.
That's it. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes, Anumati.
Hare, yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I lost the screen. Prabhuji, one question. So,
Yeah.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, every nook and cranny, like you should go and preach Krishna consciousness, right? Everyone should know who's Krishna and Krishna consciousness should flourish this way. And here Krishna is saying, those who are envious, don't explain Krishna, this Bhagavad Gita or my words to them. So the moment we took birth in this material world, obviously we were envious. That's why we came here.
Yes.
That means no one is eligible to take this.
Hmm.
But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, give it to everyone. So
Hmm.
why these two contradictory statements, kind of?
No contradiction. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did kirtan in public. He discussed Bhagavatam with his disciples, and he discussed Krishna Leela with Rupa Goswami, Sarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai. So, in general public, we don't discuss intimate aspects of philosophy. We just give Harinam,
Sorry.
chant and be happy.
But when we talk about, say, we say go preach, we preach to people, right? So
Correct.
we don't do Sankirtan, we actually talk about Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
So फिर हम तो preach कर रहे हैं ना, like.
So we have to be intelligent to see who's worth wasting time on. So we have to see, of course, we broadcast the message, and then whoever reciprocates, we discuss more deeply with them.
ठीक है जी. ठीक है
Hare
जी.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you जी.
Prabhuji, we can also say, means if envious person we keep on teaching, he will understand everything, and if he will still be envious, then he will, means earlier he don't know the philosophy, and after knowing philosophy, he still is envious, then he will be liable for aparad. Earlier he may be at neutral level, and after knowing an envious, then he will be an aparadhi.
So don't preach to envious people. Like you will know within a short time of preaching, you will understand who's envious and who is not.
Yes.
So we have to use our intelligence. Prabhupada always said, intelligence and organization. Yes. So
68.
text 68.
Yeah.
Ya idam paramam guhyam.
यदा इदं
परमं गयं
Tad bhakteshu abhidhasyati.
मद्भक्तिरभिदास्यति
Bhaktim mayi param kritva.
भक्तिमयी
Mam eveshyatya asanshaya.
माम् एव संशय
Hey, Ritu.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna. Translation purport by Sri Prabhupada. translation. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotee, your devotional service will guarantee. And at the end, he will come back to you. But what? Generally, it is advised that Bhagavad Gita be discussed amongst the devotees only. For those who are not devotees, will understand neither Krishna nor Bhagavad Gita. Those who do not accept Krishna as he is and Bhagavad Gita as it is should not try to explain Bhagavad Gita whimsically and become offenders. Bhagavad Gita should be explained to persons who are ready to accept Krishna as the supreme personality God. It is subject matter for the devotees only, and not for philosophical perspectives. Anyone, however, who tries sincerely to present Bhagavad Gita as it is will advance in devotional service activities and reach the pure devotional state of life. As a result of such pure devotion, he is sure to go back home, back to God. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So, for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. So, actually, this is the position of acharyas or gurus. This is what they do. Always discussing the Hari Katha. The non-devotees will neither understand Krishna nor Bhagavad Gita. So, actually, you see, it's not that everyone who wears a kanthi mala or chants is actually a devotee. Devotee is someone who has devoted his life. Devotee means devotion. And devotion means, giving something. Not that I put some money in the hundi box or I just send a check at the month end and I'm a devotee. It's not like that. In fact, we have a term for it in ISKCON. It's called friend of Krishna. Devotee means one whose life's objective is Krishna. So, if one dedicates one's life to Krishna, if one is making Krishna his objective, then devotional service is guaranteed. Which is the other way of saying that without Bhagavad Gita, there is no question of devotion. I mean, how do we understand Krishna if we don't study Bhagavad Gita? So, anyone who, professes to practice devotional service but doesn't read Bhagavad Gita or doesn't want to read Bhagavad Gita is known as a pakhandi, a sham, a fake guy. Because anyone who is seriously interested in Krishna will at least attempt to understand the Bhagavad Gita. If he's illiterate, he will at least try to hear the Bhagavad Gita. Without Bhagavad Gita, there is no question of understanding the Supreme Lord. So, if one is preaching Bhagavad Gita, then he's doing a very direct service to the Lord. And he becomes very dear to the Lord. So, he gets both devotional service as well as, his ticket back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada always said, you make one Vaishnava, you are going back to Godhead. So, therefore, it is very important that we study the Bhagavad Gita very nicely and we preach. This verse is directly telling the position of a preacher. What happens to those who preach Krishna consciousness? Now, having said that, preaching is not an easy business. There are many risks involved here. Mental, physical, all kinds of risks. So therefore, one who's trying to preach the Bhagavad Gita has to undergo many kinds of sufferings. If one is able to tolerate it, then one will become glorious. But if one does not do it, then one's bhakti will not mature. One will keep on hovering on the mental platform. So therefore, Bhagavad Gita should be discussed in the assembly of devotees. It should be studied, it should be discussed. And in this way, everybody will be glorious and everyone will go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments here? Okay, text 69. Nacha tasman manushyeshu
Na tasman manushyeshu
kaschin me priya krittamah
kaschin me priya krittamah
bhavita nacha me tasmad anyah priyataro bhuvi.
Anyah priyataro bhuvi.
There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. Adhyeshyate chaya imam
Addeshyate cha ya imam
dharmyam samvadam avayo
dharmam sampadam avayo
jnana yagyena tenaham ishtah syam iti me mati.
Ishtam sham iti me mati.
And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation worships me by his intelligence. Shraddhavan anusuyascha
Suryasya
pranuyadapi yo nara
Shrunyadapi yo naraha.
topi muktah subhal lokan
Mukta shubhan lokan.
prapnuyat punya karmanam.
Prapnuyat
Prapnuyat punya karmanam.
Someone like to read?
May I read?
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Go ahead,
Yes.
Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, please.
Okay, ji. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna ji. Translation. And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. Purport. In the 67th verse of the chapter, the Lord explicitly forbade the Gita's being spoken to those who are envious of the Lord. In other words, Bhagavad Gita is for the devotees only. But it so happens that sometimes a devotee of the Lord will hold open class, and in that class, not all the students are expected to be devotees. Why do such people hold open class? It is explained here that although not everyone is a devotee, still there are many men who are not envious of Krishna. They have faith in him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If such persons hear from a bona fide devotee about the Lord, the result is that they become at once free from all sinful reactions, and after that attain to the planetary system where all righteous persons are situated. Therefore, simply by hearing Bhagavad Gita, even a person who does not try to be a pure devotee attains the result of the righteous activities. Thus, a pure devotee of the Lord gives everyone a chance to become free from all sinful reactions and to become the devotee of the Lord. Generally, those who are free from the sinful reactions, those who are righteous, very easily take to Krishna consciousness. The word punya karmanam is very significant here. This refers to the performance of great sacrifices like Ashwamedha Yajna, mentioned in the Vedic literature. Those who are righteous in performing devotional service but who are not pure can attain the planetary system of the pole star or a Dhruvalok where Dhruva Maharaj is presiding. He is a great devotee of the Lord and he has a special planet which is called the pole star. Thank you, Ji. Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. So, so you see, this is the process. We preach to everyone. Whoever takes the message becomes a devotee. Who doesn't take, well, what to do? So this is how the preaching process is. See, it's a very difficult task. Preaching is not easy. Preaching requires us to be constantly studying ourselves. Preaching requires us also to be free from all vices ourselves. I mean, what can we preach if our own behavior is, dubious? So preaching requires us to put in a lot of physical effort. It requires a lot of physical, mental, and intellectual effort. And it usually has a detrimental effect on our health. So these are all the risks one has to take. This is all in course of time. In due course of business, it has to be undertaken. So in this way, such a person becomes very dear to the Lord. And anyone who listens to this message also benefits. Actually, one who speaks actually benefits the most, for simple reason that he is listening. Others may sleep in the lecture or others may be looking outside the window, but at least the speaker is listening him. Therefore, he benefits a lot. So in this way, one benefits from the process of preaching. So those who are righteous, those who perform devotional service with righteousness, they go to Dhruvalok. That is, they attain the supreme abode of Lord Narayan. But those who are completely pure, they attain Golok Vrindavan. That means one should cultivate pure devotional service. Righteousness is nice. So that's why you see we discourage all these social activities like charities or charitable institutions, charitable activities. They're nice. but don't waste your time on this. In due course of time, if something comes to you, you should reciprocate, but don't go out of your way to perform these activities. Donating food to orphans, or going out and doing charity, donating blood for some corona drive. So all these kind of activities, they do not constitute pure devotional service. So, because there is some element of selfishness involved there. My society, my people, or I am righteous. No, the devotee of Krishna should just engage in the devotional service all the time, 24 hours. He should just pray to Krishna. He should preach the message of Krishna, knowing fully well that all the troubles in this world can be mitigated by only Krishna and nobody else. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Vaishnav is a paradukha dukhi. So if we see a orphan child, or we want to help, and if we feed, or if we give any kind of clothes or as a gift, so this service can be Krishna conscious activity, or how we can consider such type of work?
In due course, if some orphan is coming outside your house, is begging for something, you give something. Yeah, you give prasadam, you give clothes, you can even give money. That is all fine. But to go to an orphanage, to so and so Hindu orphanage or so and so Indian orphanage, and you're going and you're paying donations and all, that is waste. Then that is not bhakti. Because a devotee, but of course, having said that, it doesn't mean that we should then be sitting at home and watching a movie. No, then in that case, we should be dedicating our life and our actions to Krishna. So a Krishna conscious devotee is someone who engages all his life in service of Krishna. Then he has no such time. But if one is just engaged in gross materialistic activities, then these activities are prescribed. Then one should do that. So certainly for a devotee should not waste his time. That we are raising funds, then we'll feed the poor somewhere, we'll raise funds, and then we'll give relief to flood victims. That is not for devotees. A devotee's task is to go and preach. Kirtan and preaching. He should not be wasting his time like this. And having said that, it's not that devotee then should become some big vice president or something and make a lot of money, 24 hours engaged in work. I also chant Hare Krishna. No, not that. Then one should engage more and more in Krishna's service. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, so text 72. Kachid echa shrutam partha.
Kachid echa shrutam partha.
Tvaye kagrena chetasa.
Tvaye grena
chetasa.
Kachid ajnana sammoha.
Kachid ajnana
sammoha.
Pranashtaste dhananjaya.
Pranashtaste dhananjaya.
Yes. Would someone like to read?
May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
O son of Pritha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled? Purport: the Lord was acting as the spiritual master of Arjuna. Therefore, it was his duty to inquire from Arjuna whether he understood the whole Bhagavad Gita in its proper perspective. If not, the Lord was ready to re-explain any point or the whole Bhagavad Gita if so required. Actually, anyone who hears Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide spiritual master like Krishna or his representative will find that all his ignorance is dispelled. Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book written by a poet or a fiction writer. It is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any person fortunate enough to hear these teachings from Krishna or from his bona fide spiritual representative is sure to become a liberated person and get out of the darkness of ignorance. Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Masterji. So we should hear Bhagavad Gita from a bona fide source, not someone who's popular or someone who tells some spicy stories, anecdotes. That may be nice, but that does not convey the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a very grave subject matter. The war is about to start. A prince has to kill his own grandfather and his teacher, and he may also die. His brothers may die. A whole family is about to be destroyed. And in such a situation, how can one be frivolous? Bhagavad Gita is a very grave subject matter. So one should understand it in its proper seriousness. So if one wants to understand Bhagavad Gita, one should try to understand the mind of Arjun. Try to understand the desperation of Arjun. It's very easy for us to sit here and laugh at Arjun. You know, why Arjun is like this? Ha ha ha, why is Arjun doing that? No, Arjun is in a very serious trouble. Arjun's problems are really very serious. And Arjun is our representative because we also have very serious problems in our life. So we should listen very attentively with all seriousness, and we should hear from a bona fide source. Actually, every devotee, Prabhupada says, you should study Bhagavad Gita every day. He said, one chapter per day, if you read, you will understand Bhagavad Gita properly. So one chapter per day, that should be our rate of reading. Then we can hope to understand some part of Bhagavad Gita one day. So the best idea is one should take a notebook and a pen and then read Bhagavad Gita and mark out the salient points which strike you. You know, what is it that appeals most to you? Keep on noting. In this way, if you go on, after 3-4 times, you'll understand, you'll realize that you have understood salient points of Bhagavad Gita very nicely, and you can at least start preaching. So in this way, one should preach the message of Bhagavad Gita, and before that, one should study the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada always said, study my books scrutinizingly. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments? Okay, then we stop here today. Thank you very much, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Krishna tadiya padapankaj panjarantam Addaiva visatu me manasa rajahansa Prana prayana samai kaphavata pitau Kantavarodhana vidhau Smaranam kutaste